Hello, welcome back to my studio. Today I'm going to be pressing out some of the smaller components for the mosaic. So this is the sculpture that is small that I am basing this larger rondelle on. Instead of just having the roses, I'm going to put roses, skulls, and bones, similar to how I've done these larger pieces. You can see that there are various roses and skulls and the central flower. So this whole area is where my two figures kissing are going to be, and then they'll have a similar type border. Here is the cartoon that I have created. You can see where the skulls are and the bones and the roses. I've also realized that I need to create these spacers, so I'm going to have to cut those out, and I'll probably make a mold that has a bunch of those pieces in it as well. I've put together a press list, and you can see here these are all of the things that I'm going to need to make. I have skulls, bones, roses, and I'm also going to have to make some spacers. These are the molds that I have created already, and you can see this one is the mold that I created to make these skulls for this piece. And these are the bones, and you can see those wrapping around the central flame component of this mosaic. Additionally, I have the smaller roses, and there's that large rose that was once again from this mosaic here. This one is for the bones, and it has 6 bones in it. This is called a gang mold because it has multiples of the same thing. And gang molds and just duplicate molds are always great to have when you're making large quantities of things, because the mold gets damp, and after about three goes of pressing clay into them and pulling it out, they get a little bit saturated, and then the clay sticks to the mold, and you really have to fight to get the clay out. So I find it works better if I just do a table of various molds and do about 3 turns, and then let everything dry overnight and come back the next day. Alright, so I'm pressing out this gang mold of roses, and what I've done is I've prepared all of my shapes of clay that I'm going to need to press out, and I've made them into large masses that are approximately the size and shape of what I need. So in the case of the roses, I've made all of these, and I've cut them into little wafers, and that way when I'm ready to press out, I just have to put the wafer in the right sized impression, and I'm going to, with my mallet, press the clay all the way in. This is basically a cheese slicer, but it's nice because I can adjust the level. And so I want it to be about that thick, and then I can just slice off a little thinner. Just like that. Too much clay, so I can save that for something else. And I just hammer it. I've got this folded towel here, and that acts as a cushion so I don't break my molds. My clay is pretty soft. If the clay is really hard, you're more likely to break your mold by hammering it in. The clay doesn't really want to press, and so you end up just breaking your mold. So I like my clay to be a little on the soft side. And then I scrape that off, every time I scrape, I take a little bit of plaster with me. So this clay goes into the waster clay pile, and that's clay that I can sculpt with, but it cannot become finished products. When I'm not using the clay, I try to always keep it covered because it dries out a lot faster than you think. It's just a good habit to get into. So I've scored it with some texture. I'm putting my stamp. It says TTW on there. It's my logo. And it's for Tortuga Tile Works. And there you have it. That's one mold complete. After I press all the clay into the mold, I've got a whole table here of my pieces parts, and now I'm going to pull them out, and I do that with the assistance of compressed air. I have a compressor that really helps me out with this. Basically, I just blow it right at the edge until the air goes up underneath and helps lift it out. So that was 3 rounds of pressing out. You can see that the mold is getting darker, and that's because it's getting damper. My mallet is also kind of damp. So now everything's starting to stick. So it's better just to call it a day for this project. And you can see that everything is all pressed out. They're relatively flat. They're going to remain on these drywall boards that I have inserted into some baking racks. These will dry for a few days, and then once they are bone dry, I'll be able to bisque fire them. And that is a video for another day. Join me again next time as I continue to press these out and get this mosaic going. Thank you very much. Have a good day.